Hey everybody, Alex Kazora, SteelersDepot.com, back for another Pittsburgh Steelers analysis and recap of their 27-3 comfortable Week 11 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars. Steelers move to 10-0 on the season, continue their undefeated ways. The Jaguars drop to 1-9. So let's go ahead and recap what happened on Sunday. This game certainly not the most exciting one on offense. Fairly boring game, I guess, relative to the way that things have gone for the Steelers. But I'll take some boring and nice and easy and comfortable, relatively speaking, start to finish. Especially with probably an intense game coming up on Thursday on Thanksgiving against Baltimore. But for the Steelers offense, wasn't great early, but just kind of the same story as before. A lot of passes with Ben. The run game was better. Part of that was James Conner really creating and having to really forge his own way. The line did a little bit better job in terms of blocking up front, but not where you want it to be. But Connor was able to bounce runs outside, win the perimeter, good after contact, finding the hole, doubling back even occasionally in a couple of runs, and kind of just making his own path and finding his own way. But I'll take it for at least a short term. Is hopefully you can kind of build off of that. At least you had overall a successful day, box score wise on the night. And Benny Snell has a 1 yard touchdown as well, so you converted in some of the short yard situations and 4th and 1, 3rd and 1 goal line, and you had a pretty good average overall. So far from perfect, but I'll take it with the run game as a first step. And then the pass game, again, a very similar story as the Bengals last week. The Jaguars defense constructed in a similar fashion. Not a lot of pass rush. They lost their top pass rusher, Josh Allen. The secondary was already hit hard, pretty good by injuries coming into this game. No CJ Henderson, no Sidney Jones, and then they just had guys going down and in and out of the lineup throughout the game, whether that was Hayden or Clay Brooks, and just overmatched. And Deontay Johnson winning his one-on-ones. Johnson can be such an exciting player. There was a little bit of inconsistency to his game with his hands, but his hands aren't bad. He can make some really difficult combat catch type grabs, and the one on the left sideline that was juggled and caught leads to the Snell touchdown. A great example of that. A third down catch too that was diving over the middle. Another good example of that. So this guy can obviously make some really highlight real plays. X receiver type. You put him backside, let him win one-on-one against some overmatched cornerbacks, and Ben certainly looked his way a lot. I think Johnson was targeted 16 times against the Jaguars and caught 12 passes for a buck 11 and nearly had a touchdown. So good day for him. Deep ball with Chase Claypool. You connect on one of those, get a couple of PIs. You take it from there. Ebron catching that little bang eight down the little skinny post down the seam to really kind of cap that one off. So for the offense overall, it was not perfect, but the pass protection has continued to just be amazing. Now I know they're not playing against great defenses and pass rushes, but the Jaguars, they were blitzing on basically every single third down. They were bringing creative pressure and DBs and trying to really get after Ben at the line. And James Conner also did a good job of recognizing that stuff, picking it up. And Roethlisberger has not been sacked now in three straight games. That's the first time in Steelers history, all of Steelers history, according to Pro Football Reference, that the Steelers have not allowed a sack in three straight games. Ben's only been sacked twice in his last five. So and he's been throwing the football a lot too, about 40 plus a game. So it's not like it's 2005 and they're throwing it 21 times a game and running the football, and the sack numbers not as impressive as it may sound on paper. So overall, you're playing pretty clean, you're playing smart, more efficient in this game. You certainly will take it. And defensively, kind of more of the same. You came out aggressive early, Keith Butler did, and going after Jake Luton. I think that kind of impacted Luton later in the game, where some passes were sailing, some throws weren't as crisp, and his accuracy was fairly erratic later into the game. He got into a rhythm a little bit early on, but things kind of turned around pretty quickly. And you pick him off four times, and you got a pair of interceptions from Minkah Fitzpatrick, which is just kind of old hat for Minkah. Although one of those came in the red zone. So again, I always say the mark of an elite defense in 2020 are guys and units that can get pressure and get sacks and take the football away and win in situational football. Third down red zone. Another red zone interception for Minkah Fitzpatrick. That is his third over the last 2 years. That leads the NFL. The big story here is Terrell Edmunds. Two interceptions today. Where did that one come from? I bet you didn't have that on your 2020 bingo card. More interceptions today against Jacksonville than he had in his entire Steelers career from 2018 coming into week 11 today. And it's just awesome to see his progression. He's definitely progressed. I've talked about that on the podcasts and tweets, and I think some on the live stream on here as well, that Edmunds has certainly improved as a physical tackler, as a reliable tackler, filling the alley, playing the run hard. I mean, his missed tackle rate's been cut in half from 12% as a rookie and a sophomore down to about 6% this year. So you've definitely seen improvement, and you just never really saw the ball skills, but you saw it today. Now the first one was an overthrow, but still a catch and a good play. And the second one he had was really impressive underneath zone coverage. They rotate the safety late to drop Sutton to the center field, and Edmonds is there to tip it to himself for the second pick. So really cool to see that. Really cool to see the excitement of his teammates around him as well. They know how special this was and kind of a long time coming for Terrell Edmonds to have a game like this, and so that's a lot. That's a lot of fun to see. So overall, this defense opportunistic, 2 sacks. 4 interceptions on a rookie quarterback who really couldn't do much outside of a little bit of early success. Defense communicated well, no coverage busts against those speedy receivers at Jacksonville, which I talked about leading into this week. So overall, fundamentally sound game, splash plays, run defense again. There's work to do there for sure, but you're facing a pretty good rushing attack and a good running back, and that was going to be their identity of Jacksonville, knowing they had to run the ball effectively. So overall, I think you did a decent job, didn't allow any big chunk runs, and then eventually game score made it so that really Jacksonville couldn't run the ball, and he teed off on Luton and made big plays in the secondary. Special teams, Chris Boswell, unfortunately, his first miss since last year, had 25 in a row. You guys saw the graphic, and so you can blame CBS for the jinx there, though. Long snapper Cameron Kennedy's not having a good season. Too many snaps that have been low or high and inside, and really been bailed out by the holder, whether that was Dustin Colquitt or now Jordan Berry. And so that finally caught up to him because that missed field goal was a pretty low snap from Kennedy. So some work to do there. But overall, special teams was solid. Berry looked good. Really not a whole lot to talk about there, but that's generally a good thing in games like this. Nice job by Marcus Allen to recover that onside kick thing that the receiver Cole kicked. Kind of a crazy situation there, but good job there. And that was certainly a big play early in that one. So it's a nice moment there overall for that unit that I think is playing pretty well this season. So overall, 10-0. You got the starters out late, which was good, playing on a short week versus Baltimore. A Ravens team, which, oh, by the way, had to go to overtime. So if you really care about those things, Baltimore having to play a little bit more, play a little bit longer than the Steelers. That's going to help a tiny bit for Thursday's rematch on Thanksgiving. And if Pittsburgh wins this game against Baltimore, the Ravens, I believe, mathematically will not be able to win the division, although technically the Browns probably could still be in the mix if they were to win out and beat the Steelers in Week 17. So I don't think the Steelers could lock up the North with a win on Thursday mathematically, but for all intents and purposes, I mean, they will control the North and win the North if they beat Baltimore on Thanksgiving. So we'll try to recap the Jaguars game as quickly as possible and then preview Baltimore and get you ready for a big Thanksgiving matchup against the Ravens. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.